こんにちは. In this video, you'll learn how to use the te-form plus iru expression. This expression uses the te-form conjugation. If you're not familiar with te-form, please see my video. The link is in the description. First of all, let's take a look at some basics of te-form plus iru. Basic number 1. How to make this expression. We simply change a verb in dictionary form to its te form and add iru. Basic number 2. The te form plus iru is the casual form, and the te form plus teimasu is the polite form. Please note that we'll use the polite version in this video, so I'll be referring to this form as te form plus teimasu. Basic number 3. When we clearly pronounce the I in iru and teimasu, it sounds a little too formal, so Japanese speakers often drop the I in natural conversation. You'll see more examples later in this video. Basic number 4. We can use te form plus teimasu for multiple expressions. One way is to describe an action that has been in progress for some time. We can describe what we are doing right at this moment, what we've been doing for some time, and what we do by occupation. We can also describe the current state or the result state of a change, and this expression may not be so straightforward to understand, but the translation is something like, I did something and I'm in that state. I'll break it down into smaller learning points and explain more later in this video. Now, let's look at how to say I am doing the action now, like right at this moment. This is the most basic meaning. If you want to say, I'm eating breakfast now, like right at this moment, you can say, 今、朝ごはんを食べています. As I mentioned earlier, the I in teimasu is usually dropped for natural conversation. So it sounds more natural to say, 今、朝ごはんを食べてます. Please note that if you simply say, 今、朝ごはんを食べます, it means you haven't started eating breakfast, but you are going to eat breakfast now. If you want to say, I'm working now right at this moment, what would you say? 今、仕事をしています. Again, it's more natural to drop the I in teimasu, so you can say, 今、仕事をしてます to sound more natural. If you want to ask someone what the person is doing right at this moment, what would you say? 今、何をしていますか? Or, 今、何をしてますか? to sound more natural. Other examples would be, 今、部屋を掃除してます. I'm cleaning my room now. 図書館で宿題をやってます. I'm doing my homework at the library. te form plus teimasu is also used to describe actions in progress for a while, not just actions in progress right at this moment. So if you have been doing yoga every day, you can say, 毎日ヨガをしてます. Please note that you could say, 毎日ヨガをします to say the same thing, but saying しています gives the specific nuance that you have actually been doing yoga every day. If you started making games yesterday, and that's what you've been doing, you can say, 昨日からゲームを作ってます. If you've been writing blog posts in Japanese recently, you can say, 最近日本語でブログを書いてます. Now, those actions you've been doing or you do often could be your occupation. We use te form plus teimasu to describe what we do by occupation. Let's see this example. From what we learned, we say ゲームを作ってます to describe what you are doing right at this moment, or to describe what you've been doing. And this could also mean that you make games by occupation, like you work as a game developer. If you teach Japanese by occupation, you can say 日本語を教えてます. Again, this could mean I'm teaching Japanese right at this moment, or I've been teaching Japanese not necessarily by occupation, maybe by hobby, and it depends on the context. If you work in Japan, you can say 日本で働いてます. Being a student is considered as an occupation, so we use te-form plus います to describe what we do as a student. So if you study Japanese language at a college, you can say 大学で日本語を勉強してます. If you don't use te-form plus います and say 大学で日本語を勉強します, then it means you will or you're going to study Japanese at a college. Now it removes the nuance of actions in progress. So it sounds more like it's your plan, like something you're going to do. It doesn't sound like you're already doing it. So please note that it's not interchangeable in this case. The te form plus います is also used to describe the current state or result of a change. So what does it mean, and how is it different from the examples we've seen so far? To understand this expression better, let's look at the difference between activity verb and change verb. Activity verb is a verb that describes actions that last some time. Think of actions that you can start doing at one point, and you can continue doing the action until you stop. Change verb is a verb that describes actions that complete and change the state instantly. Like when you do a change action, it changes the state of something almost instantly. An example of activity verb is to do. This action can last some time. At one point, you can start doing something and you can keep doing it until you stop. Another example is to eat. This action can last some time too. At one point, you can start eating and you can keep eating until you stop. To speak is another example. You can start speaking and keep speaking until you stop. Now, how about change verb? An example of a change verb is to wake up. What happens when you do this action? As soon as you wake up, your state changes from asleep to awake almost instantly, and you're in a certain state until you do another change action. Another example is to sit down. What happens when you sit down? As soon as you sit down, your state almost instantly changes to sitting, and you are in that state until you do another change action such as stand up. To borrow is another example. Again, what happens when you borrow something? As soon as you borrow something, your state changes almost instantly, and again, you are in that state until you do another change action such as return something. Now let's look at how te form plus います works with change verbs. Remember the examples we've seen so far for te form plus います. Those examples basically describe actions in progress. For example, at one point, you start doing something and you continue doing the action. We use the te form plus います to express your action in progress. In this case, 食べています like I'm eating, or I've been eating, or I eat something by occupation. So how is it different from result of a change? It's more like expressing your current state or result state of a change. For example, Let's say you are asleep, and then you do the wake up action. Then your state changed from asleep to awake. We use te-form plus imasu to describe your current state that you're awake. In this case, 起きています. Most of the case, it means that I did the verb and I'm in that state. For this example, it means I woke up and I'm now in the woke up state. So it pretty much means I'm up and awake. Please be careful that it does not mean I'm waking up. I'm only talking about my current state that I'm up and awake. Let's see more examples of te-form plus imasu used to express current state or result of a change. Let's say you sat down at one point. I sat down is 座りました. Now, to describe your current state or the result state that you are seated, you can say 座ってます. Let's say you borrowed a book at one point. I borrowed a book is 本を借りました. Now, to describe your current state or the result state that you are still borrowing the book, you can say 本を借りてます. Let's say you got married at one point. I got married is 結婚しました. Now, to describe your current state that you are married, you can say 結婚してます. Let's say you got to know of the news at one point. I got to know of the news is そのニュースを知りました. Now, to describe your current state that you know of the news, you can say そのニュースを知ってます. Let's say you started living in Japan at one point, whether you were born in Japan or moved to Japan. To describe your current state that you live in Japan now, you can say 日本に住んでます. We always use te-form plus imasu when describing what someone is wearing. For example, the verb for to put on clothes is 着ます. So to describe that you finished putting on your kimono, you can say 着物を着ました. And to describe that you wear it now, you can say 着物を着てます. Similarly, the verb for to put on glasses is かけます. So to describe that you finished putting on your glasses, you can say メガネをかけました. And to describe that you wear them now, you can say メガネをかけてます. Today we learned how to use te-form plus imasu and how the expression is used. Thank you for watching. ありがとうございます.